Hi, everyone, and welcome to Legal Services of Eastern Missouri's special Facebook Live presentation exploring the EdRights app from the Education Justice Program. My name is Hopey Fink, and I am a staff attorney at the Education Justice Program. I am joined behind the scenes by my colleagues, Amanda Schneider, who is our managing attorney, Christina Brim, our social worker, and Elizabeth Vandenberg, our education advocate. So they're going to be helping make sure that all of your comments and questions are addressed. I did want to let you know that I can't see the chat right now, but if you do have a comment or a question that you post in the chat on this Facebook live stream, if we have enough time at the end of the presentation, we'll hopefully be able to address some of those questions. Also, a recording of this video will be available on our Facebook page after the live stream ends. Please also note that unfortunately, we are unable to address specific legal questions on this Facebook Live, including in the chat. But you can feel free to call the intake line at Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. That is 314-534-4200, or toll free at 1-800-444-0514 to see if you're eligible for legal representation from Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. And my colleagues will pop that in the chat as well so that you can have those contact numbers if any questions arise outside of the scope of this presentation. So I'm going to talk you through a bit of the why, who, what, and how for this app. I might be referencing just some notes here and there so that I can make sure to give you all the information that you need. As you can see, I have pulled up what we're calling the overview page or the landing page. This URL up here at lsem.org/edrights-app. You can get to this overview page by typing in the URL. You can also navigate there through the Legal Services of Eastern Missouri website, which is just lsem.org. And on this page, we have a lot of information, including a link to take you directly to the app itself. But I wanted to just first show you this page as I'm explaining how we came to be. So the Education Justice Program targets the root causes of education inequity in Missouri through a racial justice lens and a community lawyering model. And as part of our community lawyering model, we do a lot of Know Your Rights presentations in the community with parents and students so that parents and students can really understand what their rights are as they're navigating situations in school. And we found pre-COVID, but especially now during the pandemic, that we really wanted a tool to empower parents beyond what we were able to cover in those presentations. So the app really was developed as an accessible, shareable, and versatile kind of in your pocket way of having information that we would have covered at a Know Your Rights presentation on legal rights. We also wanted to increase our connectivity with our community partners and really spread the word about our services and our program. So this is another way to do that. So we worked with a web developer and a designer with our goals in mind of accessibility and sharing as much information as possible. And we decided to focus on two main areas where we do a lot of advocacy in our program: school discipline and school access, which is usually concerning enrollments of students experiencing homelessness. So when we get onto the app itself, I can show you what that looks like. But while we're on the overview page, you can see, really learn more about the EdRights app, and a lot of what I'm saying is covered here as well. But this app, like I said, is developed with parents and students in mind. That would be K through 12 students, including unaccompanied youth. And you'll see we actually have a separate pathway for youth themselves. The app is applicable statewide. So if you know someone in another part of Missouri who also might benefit or might like to see what this app is all about, please do share it with them. And we want to encourage service providers, nonprofits, and other partner organizations to also use this app and walk through it with families and share it as a resource. If that means sitting down with the family and going over the app information with them or just explaining how to download it, we hope that this can empower you as well. So that's really who this is designed for. Many, many people, hopefully. When you're on this landing page, this overview page, you'll notice again that we have information about what the app is and also how to install it. So the cool thing is that this app is actually a website that behaves like an app. It's called a progressive web app, or a PWA. And what that means is that it can be accessed through a URL. You'll see this is the URL. I'll click on just in a moment, we'll go to that URL. This is the app. You also can install the app onto your home screen on a phone or tablet. Most phones or tablets. So you don't have to download anything from the App Store. You just use this URL, and you can then have a version of the app stored on the home screen of your device, just like a native app. And then you can access that actually without internet connection later on. So you'll have some of that information stored, which was really important to us as we were developing this to make that as accessible as possible. On this overview page, you will see these instructions about how to install the EdRights app on your phone or tablet, and they walk you through step by step based on your browser type and also your device. So here again, you would go to this URL. You'll be prompted usually to add EdRights to your home screen. And once you do that, it will just install itself on your home screen, and it looks like this. As you can see, it kind of looks like a native app, but when you click on it, it will take you to that URL, progressive web app, and you'll have all the same functionality as if you were accessing it through a desktop or a laptop. If you're not prompted to add the EdRights app, we actually do have more detailed instructions about how to manually add it as well. And once you're on the app, whether that's on a desktop or on a tablet or a phone, we also would encourage you to allow push notifications when you're prompted to do so, or to do it manually down here. And what those notifications do is they'll allow us to send you updates, whether that's additional information about the same topics that we already have covered. Maybe there's a legal update that we want to make sure you're aware of, or whenever we add new features, you'll be the first to know if you sign up for push notifications. Just a reminder that if you have questions as I'm going over this, please feel free to put those in the chat, and my colleagues will get them to me by the end of this presentation that we can go over. So maybe you're wondering, how do I actually get to the app itself from this page? I just showed you that this link can take you there. Also, up at the top of this page, you can just click open the EdRights app, and this will take you directly to the app itself. You can also just type in this URL. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. A lot of different routes to get to the app. So here is the app. And as you can see, it's pretty streamlined, pretty hopefully clear and simple as possible, so that you can navigate it. I will point out that we do have up here a menu. If you click on that, you can find some FAQ. Some of these FAQ questions are also on this overview page up right here on this page. So I would definitely check this section if you have a question about something technical, like what are push notifications, or just generally, what is this app? Hopefully these will answer some of your questions. I also wanted to point out that pretty much on every screen of this app, you're going to see this phrase, which will include our Education Justice Program hotline, which is 314-256-8789, and also our email, ejp@lsem.org. Those are ways you can reach us if the information that you're looking for isn't covered by the app. So I just wanted to point out that that's pretty much on every screen. I'm going to go back, use that navigator to get us back to this home screen of the app. And we're just going to walk through what it would be like if you are, let's say, a parent who's using this app. You'll notice we do have a separate pathway for students, and that will take, if you click on that, that will take you to specific information about the legal rights that students have. If you're a parent, then you will click on this, takes you to the next screen. And really at each screen, you're going to have the option to choose what is most relevant in your situation. So I would encourage you to, read through all of the options and decide what's most relevant. Knowing that, of course, if you choose the wrong thing, you can always then go back and have an option to choose a different pathway. So there's really, you can go back and forth to get as much information as you need. So for the sake of this example, I'm going to choose the school access pathway. This, like I said, is often a situation where a student experiencing homelessness isn't accessing school in the way that they need to. But hopefully this answers some questions about other school access issues as well. When you click on this pathway, you'll notice that this language here is pretty specific. And the reason that it's so specific is that we wanted really to arm parents and students with legal language, really how the law that is applicable in the situation would phrase things. We also hope that it's clear so that you can understand what you need to choose. But we wanted to give you that language so that when you are communicating with the district or trying to navigate the school system, you understand what it would be called in the law. So let's say this family is staying with friends or relatives. This is very common when a family is staying doubled up with someone else due to loss of housing or financial hardship. So if that is a situation that applies, you would click there. And then you'll have at the top here, this is a sentence that's telling you your rights. So before you even go on to the next pathway, I would encourage you when you're using this app to take in the information that's on each screen, because it's there for a reason. We want you to know that the federal McKinney-Vento Act, that is a law that covers children who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. Again, that is the legal language that is in the law. So as a parent's walking through this, hopefully they're taking note that that is how the school district is going to be looking at their situation using that language and that lens. But hopefully through the process of going through the app, they understand that what this means is someone who falls into one of the situations that was on the previous screen. So then you just click what you're having trouble with. Let's say this is a school enrollment trouble, and you can describe your problem more in detail, in one of these options. I'll note that as you can see here, we actually have some, situations that we tried to put on here that are specific to the COVID-19 context. So for example, my child is having trouble accessing mandatory online learning. That would be during COVID-19 when so many districts are remote or online. When you click on this next one, you'll be taken to another screen that tells you in plain language what your right is. So your child has a right to free technology like other students if they're qualifying for this federal law. And that is to complete schoolwork that's required to be done online. Once you get to the end of whatever pathway you've gone on, again, you can navigate back if you have further questions about one of the other answers. After you've read all the information, if you still have questions, you will be directed to a screen, again, that will have our hotline information and our contact information, so you can share whatever other issues that you have. You can then navigate back to the beginning again by going home and really exhausting whatever is on this app. Hopefully you can find some answers to what your questions are. All right, I'm going to pause and just check to make sure that my team hasn't sent any questions. Team, please do send along if there are any. But in the meantime, I'm going to go over some of the other frequently asked questions that, as we've been rolling out the app, we've been hearing. Hopefully this answers some things you're wondering about. So first, I'm going to take us back to this overview page, because one of the things that folks might be wondering about is when they go to try to install the EdRights app on their home screen, well, what if you're not prompted? every device is a little bit different here, but as you'll see, we thankfully have some very detailed instructions if you are encountering not being prompted. Depending on your device, you'll want to find if you're using iOS, like a Mac product, that would be here. If you have an Android, you want to also choose which browser you're using. And then you can look step by step at what's been highlighted here. Step 1, click through step 2, and so on. Hopefully this provides helpful information depending on what your device is, on what it would look like to actually have that app installed onto your home screen. Again, the finished product, when you've got it installed, it really should be pretty seamless and look kind of like this. Second question that we've gotten is, how can I subscribe to the EdRights app notifications? Well, there are a few ways here as well. The first time that you go to the URL, and I did a practice run of this, so it didn't pop up this time, but really the first time you go to the URL, you should be prompted, depending on your device, with something that looks like this. We'd like to show you notifications for the latest news and updates. All you have to do at that point is click allow. Now, if you're not asked to allow the push notifications, you can also do it manually. You'll maybe notice that when you're on the app itself, there's going to be in the bottom right corner a little red bell. You can click that to subscribe to notifications, and then you'll just click allow. And again, those notifications are a really great way to stay in touch with what's happening with the app and to make sure that the information you're getting from the app is the most updated. I'll point out, you can also unsubscribe to the app just by clicking this again, and you can unsubscribe notifications there as well. Another question that we have gotten a bit is, when will you be adding new topics to the EdRights app? So hopefully this means that something about the app is helpful in its interface. As a reminder, the topics that we currently cover in the app are school access and school discipline, and also alternative education, which is often related to school discipline. That would be when a student who's been removed from the classroom for disciplinary purposes is put into an alternative education program. That's a scenario that's covered. This really does actually cover quite a few different scenarios. So I would encourage you, if you have a question, to try the pathways that exist already. But of course, we cannot cover everything right here, which is why we do really encourage you to call our hotline if you're having an issue that isn't covered by what we currently have. I will say we're very much interested in adding more topics in the future. So we'd love your feedback in the meantime on how the app works, and any suggestions for how we can improve the interface so that when we are able to add more topics, we'll be able to use it fully and branch out to what we already have and cover more questions. Again, this is why the subscribing to notifications is important, because you'll be the first to know when we do update and add more topics. And finally, another question that we've gotten is, how can I help spread the word about the EdRights app? Thank you, first of all, to those of you who have helped us in this regard during the pandemic. It's certainly we need all hands on deck to get the word out, especially during this time. So first of all, sharing on social media is really helpful. On our Legal Services of Eastern Missouri Facebook page, we have made a few posts already about the app, so you can feel free to share one of those posts or share the URL on your own. Again, this URL, edrights.lsem.org, is something you can just copy and paste, send directly to a family through email or through text. We have a QR code and some pre-made blurbs that you can copy and paste when you're sharing this, that are in our partner toolkit, our EdRights App partner toolkit. So if you would like to receive those resources and help us share even more, please email us at ejp@lsem.org. We will forward on those blurbs and other resources for you to help us share this. All right, and I'm just going to check and make sure I do see a couple questions. So one question is, which pathway should someone use if they are not a parent or a student? So like a concerned adult, someone who is maybe helping a family or just wants to better inform themselves. That's a good question. And you could use either. It really is going to give you similar information in both. The parent one is really written from the perspective for an adult. So of course, it's not going to be exactly applicable. Like when you're clicking through the pathway, you will still, it's going to frame things like your child. So as long as you have in mind that this is talking about a child generally, this should be a helpful pathway to go through. If you are an adult who's working directly with youth, you might want to use the student pathway, so you can see it from their perspective. I'll just briefly show you what that would look like. It's a little bit different, but not too different. It's really, instead of saying your child, we have your. And really at the upfront first thing that you'd click on, we wanted to address sort of this distinction between youth who are living with a parent or legal guardian and those who are not, because those who are not are considered unaccompanied youth, unaccompanied minors, and so the law is a little more protective of them actually, or has a little bit more dimension to it. So if you're a concerned adult, you can play around with kind of each of the pathways to see which will give you the information that you need, but both should have some of that relevant information. I'm looking again to see, we have another question. I believe that's actually the same question. Okay. Team, do we have any other questions that have come up? I do want to reiterate that if you have more questions after viewing this, then you can please reach out to us at our hotline or our email address. We'd be happy to follow up with any questions. Again, the recording of this presentation will be available on the Legal Services of Eastern Missouri Facebook page right after this live stream ends. So you can feel free to share the link to this presentation with others who may have missed the live session. We hope that this can continue to be a resource and help people explore the app and really understand the context that it's coming from. So thank you again for joining us. If we don't have any other questions, I'll just wrap up and say I really appreciated all of you who tuned in for this Legal Services of Eastern Missouri Facebook Live presentation on the EdRights app by the Education Justice Program. We hope that you check out the EdRights app at lsem.org/EdRights app, and please let us know what you think and how you're using the app, how you're finding it helpful. Thank you again so much for tuning in, and have a great day.